What is good, fam? It's that time of the year again. 2K26 hype season is rolling out, and in this video, I'm going to discuss how those new gameplay details in the courtside report for the NBA 2K26 roadmap could mean big things in 2K26. And we're going back in time to see how 2K16 can actually inform a better 2K gameplay. So we're going to break things down in the gameplay blog first, and then the second half of the video will focus on some gameplay details that tie all the way back to 10 years ago in what some people think might be the best 2K of all time. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's get into the gameplay blog details first. So the guys at NBA 2K gave us a flavor of what to expect for 2K26, and in this video, we're gonna break down what it means for the upcoming game. Taking into account the gameplay experience in NBA 2K25, we're gonna discuss the few details that were discussed in the courtside report, which lays out the roadmap. I've got a separate video discussing the roadmap itself, but today we're gonna focus on gameplay. And I think the main recurring theme for what 2K26 is expected to be, at least their vision for it based on the feedback from the community, is to reward skill-based gameplay. I think this was a huge talking point for the community. A lot of the community did not like what they thought was RNG, animations that had little control or were not responsive, and basically it felt like it leaned too much into a casual friendly audience. Let's give a look at this particular paragraph, rewarding skill-based gameplay. They prefaced it in the introduction, but this year 2K26, they really wanted to hone in on rewarding skill-based gameplay where your actions on the sticks, okay, fully control and translates to outcomes you see in the game. So responsiveness between your inputs to what you see or your outputs in the game. You'll feel this emphasis across multiple gameplay areas, including shot outcomes, blocks, steals, loose balls, and rebounds. Great set of areas where they really want to lock in these specific, I won't say problem areas, and some of these are legacy issues. So including shot outcomes. What this means is that in 2K25, we've seen it. People could mistime their shot by a terrible margin, even with some contests, because of shot risk profiles being available in most multiplayer modes. A lot of people thought, you're rewarding RNG, in favor of skill-based gameplay. Blocks, steals, loose balls, and rebounds. I think these are problem areas where 2K may or may not get this right. I think loose balls and rebounds in particular has been a big issue for a few generations now. And depending on the year, they might get some of these right. But in my opinion, I want to wait and see how this is incorporated. For example, in steals, sometimes you just stumble into steals, get locked into an animation, and then all of a sudden you bump the steal, for example. Not very skill-based. A lot of people are just spamming steals left and right, hoping to get a favorable animation, for example. Same with blocks. So having that translate to more and better skill-based outcomes, in my opinion, a great thing to see. Now, they detail how this is in the next paragraph. Higher details, including most competitive multiplayer modes, will play with green or miss jump shot timing this year to yield a heightened competitive atmosphere. So what are we thinking for competitive modes? There are two things to break down here. Competitive modes include Play Now Online, because primarily that is a ranked mode, at least in theory it should be, right? King of the Court maybe in my team. Of course, Comp Stage in my career side, Pro-Am, and Proving Grounds. Those are my expectations. I think Rec and Park are casual modes, and you should still see the I think the jump shot profiles make a return and still be used there. Based on community feedback, shot meters and dunk meters both show you your green windows. So a lot of emphasis on the green windows. Going back to the jump shot timing, I think an important thing to notice here is that we're going back to 2K24 somewhat, incorporating some of the best aspects of 2K24 that can be translated into 2K26. Important things to notice: one, how are green windows going to be tuned? If a jump shot or your dunk or your layups, which later on are going to be green or miss, Big are those green windows going to be? How effective are your badges versus your defender's attributes and badges going to shape those outcomes? Because remember, Mike Wang said it before, he had two options for jump shots. Make it a pure green window, but that green window expands or shrinks, or in this case, your jump shots can be sped up or slowed down depending on the type of defense there is, the fatigue. How are those green windows going to be tuned? We're gonna have to wait and see, and I think that's gonna be important in determining how the community really feels about shooting in 2K26. In addition, layup timing is permanently enabled. This is a big W to separate skill-based finishers and make those highly contested finishes even more spectacular and impressive. In the live stream, Evan and Stacks mentioned that, layup timing isn't going to be something that's going to deter a lot of layup-based slashers from taking open layups, because the timing is going to impact those tough, skill-based layups more than the open layups. So in theory, you could mistime your open layups fine. I think in 2K25, that's been happening to me a lot. And as long as you're open or wide open, it should be fine. But if you're entering into a contact animation or where you're well defended, that's where layup timing and the difference in skilled finishers versus non-skilled finishers is going to be important. Now, shot meter and dunk meter having a different shot meter, I think is going to be great for a lot of people who didn't like the shot meter in 2K25, where your green windows weren't showing. So like in past 2Ks with your traditional jump shot meter, your green windows would expand or contract based on the type of defense. It gives you information on whether you took a good shot or a bad shot. It also gives you quick information on whether you can adjust your shot mid-air, right? So I think for a lot of people that didn't vibe with 2K25's shot meter, it's great for you. For me, I adapted very quickly and didn't mind it at all, especially since I advocate for a lot of people to really take out their shot meter and layup meter just because it gives a significant boost. I think here is where we have more to play with. New tools for offense and defense. This could be significant. Get ready to elevate your game and feel the pulse of the pros with new moves that empower you with deeper control in the post and more control and customization over how you attack the rim. Let's first break that down. New moves and deeper control in the post. This is something I need. I've been saying that the post system has felt stale since next gen. A lot of people claim that the post system in 2K15, 16, 14 was better. I've 100% disagree with you. I have a video coming up on this in the future. New post moves, and I discussed this in my previous video. New post animations via Pro Play are great. The integration to the perimeter game in 25 was great and enhanced the smoothness of going from the post to perimeter or from the perimeter to the post. But the system maintained how it's done with your right stick and left stick movements. I want new post moves. I want new post animations. I want a return of some of the post animations that were taken out in previous years, like your post leans, a lot of your different aggressive shuffles. I want those back and I want more. 2K, please, if you deliver on this, that would be such a big W. Now, the emphasis on control and customization over how you attack the rim. This is interesting. In my previous video, I discussed how, the early gameplay descriptions emphasized faster and enhanced control and responsiveness, especially with pro play animations and dribbling specifically. There was a mention on Euro steps, so that communicated to me that they're focusing on finishing and layups in particular as well. In previous years, there were some layup combos that you could execute. For example, start your layup gather with a Euro gather and then finish it with a floater by chaining your inputs. Maybe you get expanded layup combos in 2K26. Customization over how you attack the rim. So in 2K26 on the my player side, you could customize your dunk package, but your layup package stayed mostly the same. Maybe that's one way 2K gives you more control. That would be interesting. Have to wait and see. Next, lock down the paint and stay in perfect position with improved player-to-player contact on the floor and in the air. Let's break this down first. I do not like how some of the contact in 2K25 is legislated. In fact, going back to previous years, like, you're gonna see a lot of people jumping into you with a lot of force because there's no consequence to it. Rarely do you get any fouls from jump shots or even contact layups, for example. So how that player-to-player contact on the floor and in the air is legislated and modeled, I think is going to be important. I think 2K's done a great job with how strong handle or physical handles in previous years and physical finisher have been, evolving with a lot of great animations. Some of it might feel a little bit canned. So how those interactions play out in 2K26 is going to be interesting. Definitely excited for that. The last bit of information we get is with improved footwork and defensive counters for a truly competitive experience. Now, they added new defensive mechanics in 2K25. I think defense in 2K25 felt more... I think it was good in terms of on-ball responsiveness and how agility ties into it, but a lot of the community, because of how steals work, focused on getting rips, favoring gambles over position and body-to-body movement and quick cutoffs. I did not like the fast cutoff move where you hold L2 and R2 and tap the right stick to the left or to the right to kind of angle off your defender. I thought it punished you too much, so that, because it gives you a big jump left or right moving laterally, did allow you to respond to counters very quickly, and in my opinion are useless. You don't see anyone using the cutoff move. In fact, I've had some success with it online, mostly in Play Now Online, where the movement isn't too comical, but in my opinion it was a work in progress and a miss in 2K25. How they improve on those mechanics in 2K26 is going to be interesting. This is just a sample of this year's improvements to on-court gameplay. Check back again later this month for the full breakdown. And that breakdown based on the roadmap is on the week of the 28th, in my opinion. So what would that be? That would mostly be probably July 31st or August 1st. Could be interesting. We're gonna expect a trailer probably and that full gameplay blog. Can't wait. Very excited for that. Now I'll have a separate video discussing a lot of what you might have missed and some important details that we see in the roadmap. But stay tuned for that in a separate video. But for now, I want to discuss what those responsiveness and better control might feel like for 2K26. So let's head over to gameplay to show you what I'm talking about. And for this exercise, we're gonna go into one of the most highly regarded games in NBA 2K history. Yeah, that's right, NBA 2K16. We're gonna go through some of the parts of dribbling and control that I think 2K16 gets right, and I do some responsible speculation to see whether 2K26 is headed towards this direction based on the early gameplay hints that we have. Alright, so you're gonna have to forgive me because this is the first time I've played 2K16 in 10 years. But when I started playing 2K16 just a few hours ago, I immediately noticed a few things. One is that while the triple threat system isn't as robust as in 2K25, there are important things that I hope 2K26 takes from it. So first of all, I'm a huge triple threat guy. I got a Carmelo build for 2K26 planned and a Kobe build eventually planned as well. And triple threat is a huge part of their game. And while I think 2K24 and 25 took steps to improve the triple threat game, there are a few things that 2K16 does right. First, I want these moves back. I want it back, 2K. I want these jab step combos back. In 2K24 and 25, you can combine your jab steps and your step overs quickly. In 2K16, you can only do that by flicking the right stick to your lateral jab step very quickly, but you can't chain your step over into your jab step, for example. So In most ways, 2K25 has a superior version of the triple threat system compared to 2K16, but I want this move back 2K. And what 2K16 does right versus 24 and 25 is that, take a look. The launches out of your jab steps feel more quick, feel, I would say, more responsive and immediate, and flows well with each other. So let's go back to these triple threat jab step combos. Boom, from that swing into that launch. Very smooth. Something that you can do in 2K25, but you have to time it right. And if you mistime it, you'll enter into a clunky launch animation. But for example, let's take a look at this. Let's do a jab combo, launch, crossover into a layup. I want to be able to do that very quickly and smoothly, and I hope 2K26 starts to address that, although they did not mention the triple threat game in the gameplay blog. Hopefully in the upcoming full gameplay breakdown and review, we get an insight into the triple threat game, but I think that's something that 2K26 can take from 2K16. Again, I love these combos, man. I love these rocker steps, right? The only thing that 2K16 doesn't get right is, for example, if I tap my step over into my jab combo, nothing happens. In 2K24, 25, you can combo your jab steps very easily. And I think that's something that, you know, 2K26 should do well and should do better than 2K16. So I want to talk about the dribbling system in 2K16, which in some ways still shares a lot of the same DNA as 2K24 and 2K25. So 2K20, I want to say 23, 22, 23, maybe 24 and 25 introduced your regular breakdowns and your aggressive breakdown animations. I think it's 2K24 which introduced it. And in some ways, 2K16 has these in your ISO motion or your size up escapes, right? So if you hold R2 and tap the right stick for the right example, you get this very nice hezzy dribble sequence for Kyrie. Tap the right stick down while holding R2, you get a different dribble sequence, and you tap it towards your ball hand, you get a different dribble sequence. These are essentially your combo chains from your breakdown dribbles or even your go-to shots. But what I like about 2K16 is that for the most part, these are very shifty animations. So the argument between pro play and, you know, mocapped animations, even if it's not the actual NBA player, is that you get faster animations, right? And I think this is going to be a point of emphasis in 2K26, at least from what we've seen so far, and I hope it is. But, you know, pro play need not be slow. It's just that pro play needs more data to have those faster animations in the game. So for example, Darius Garland and Steph Curry are examples of guys that have both different type of change of pace animations, but also can be very quick. Now, on the other hand, guys like Luka Doncic, for example, his pro play animations are slow. But that's because it's modeled after a guy that's strong and shifty and uses a lot of change of pace and tempo to attack their defenders. So not everything needs to be 100% or 150% speed, but for smaller and shifty guards, I want to see more of these shifty animations. And in 2K16, you can burst out of these animations, right? For example, I mean, this is even an arcadey concept, but in the middle of this, I can burst out of it. I can even have some unrealistic looking animations by cancelling out of it very quickly. But 2K16 emphasized a lot of control over visual fluidity and let's say it sacrificed responsiveness in favor of jank. You still get a lot of janky looking explosions because of this game favors responsiveness, but I think in some ways a lot of the community, you know, prefers that. So again, if we do our hezzy escape, you can burst out of this, right? You can burst out of this even after the first move. So it shares a lot of that DNA as in 2K25. So where 2K25 again shares a lot of the same DNA as in 2K16 is that actually 2K16 had a good cancel system. So if you cancel out of your step back jumpers, you can cross over out of it. You can even cancel directly into your ISO motion escapes. Now you have to time it a little bit better, right? There isn't like a pure continuity window. But if you time it right, as you can see right there, you can cancel and then immediately combo. But it's not as fluid as 2K25. So I'm hoping that, you know, in 2K26 it continues. But one area where I think 2K16 actually is better than 2K26, actually there are a couple of areas, but 2K16 had right stick, left stick, dribbling, in many ways sharing that same DNA as in 2K25. But actually 2K16 has a better system. That's because 2K16 is the third in the next gen of 2Ks which implemented a new engine, right? 2K25 is the fourth game for next gen, but it's the first game with a new dribble engine. And with that, we saw a lot of the left stick dribble moves move over to the right stick and a lot of new left stick dribble implementations. And this is where I think 2K16 could inform how 2K26 improves in terms of gameplay. So if I launch into a crossover, I can snatch. Boom, right there. I want this type of left stick. So this is a left stick move. This is a right stick, then left stick. That right there is a left stick snatchback. I want that type of responsiveness back in 2K26 for left stick moves. Now, some dribble styles do have good responsiveness in their left stick breaks. Shea has a signature one that I think is very good. But for example, that move right there was moved to the right stick. But look at the immediacy in which you can hit the brakes, right? Launch. You can even do the walk back, which I think is an arcadey type move, but that's neither here nor there. But that type of responsiveness, I think 2K26 could benefit from. And if we are to believe the small snippets of gameplay that they've been releasing, hopefully we're headed in that direction. Now, something really cool in 2K16 is the moving crossover system is really robust and really good. I think if 2K moves towards this system again, I think it could be really great for a lot of the community. So for example, we do moving crossovers. Again, as the usual case, we do it the usual way. Tap the right stick at an angle, I think a 60-degree angle to the opposite direction. You can see right there, I'm also snatching back with left stick movement. You can cancel this into an in and out by using the left stick to cancel. And that feels so good, man. So let's do that right here. You see that? What was supposed to be a moving crossover, you cancel into an in and out. Let's do a nice combo. Allow me to lock in for a while. Let me shut up and allow me to lock in. Right there. Right there is an example of how the responsiveness of the left stick, the ability to cancel your moving crossovers, the responsiveness of the left stick, the ability to cancel your moving crossover into an in and out hezzy, snatch back with the left stick, explosive behind the back, comboed into a moving cross into your layup, shows you how dynamic, fast, and responsive 2K16's moving size up system is. And in some ways, I'm hoping 2K26 adopts this kind of responsiveness. So there are not many gameplay areas where I think 2K16 is better than 26. I think this is clearly one of them. But to be fair, it's not an apples to orange comparison. The Czar likes to say that 2K cycles move in threes. They introduce a system, you wait until year 3 to get its full implementation. It's not 2K being lazy, it's just 1 year dev cycle is very hard to do, especially when you're introducing new systems. I think we're gonna get a better pro play system, which is gonna be in year 3. And I think we're gonna get a better left stick, right stick, and overall dribble and motion system in year 2. It's not gonna be perfect, but at least what they're hinting at in the gameplay blog tells us that they are moving towards this direction. So with that, let me show you some stuff you can do. All right, some other stuff you can do in the game. First, I like how hesitations can be chained into your standard size ups. So for example, we have a standard between the legs cross. If you combo that with your hezi, you see right there, standard size up, crossover hezi size up. Then you get a better explosive dribble. In many ways, 2K16 laid the groundwork for what 2K26 could be. if you integrate your right stick with your left stick dribbles, you can do that as you do in 25. But in 25, the advantage is you get a lot of new pro play data embedded in the dribble style. So you get more signature movement, where this is more standard movement right there. One thing that also took away is the ability to do walking size ups, which they completely tied to your dribble style now. But I want to be able to control moving forward, and then let's do that walking size up. Right there, you see, you can do walking size ups that give you really good change of pace movements, right? And 90% of the community won't use it, but for guys like me who like to style and profile, that's something that hopefully we can get back. So with the system that 2K16 has, let's see what we can do. All right, let's start with a standard size up. Let's say one of Kyrie's shiftier ones. Launch. And I did not execute that really cleanly, but this is what we did. All right, we did his shifty size up, comboed in the behind the back launch, moving crossover. You see that? You see this? That's supposed to be a moving crossover, but we canceled it into an in and out dribble and then into a layup. That shows you how dynamic, fast, and responsive 2K16's ISO combo system is, in many ways ahead of its time. And I'm hoping we may be moving back towards that direction. You never know. Let's try another combo. Now, instead of going to the basket, let's end it with a snatch, showing you more of that left stick integration, okay? Boom. Into the three-point line. Bam. 2K16. Let me be clear. When you play 2K16 now, there's a lot of games where 2K25 kicks its ass. Contact, AI cheating on defense with the magnet defense. Like, there's a lot of warping and sliding that 2K has addressed. But this is one area where 2K16, in my opinion, kicks 2K25's ass. So going back to that clip, we go into our, ISO size up escape, giving you that shifty Kyrie movement here. Boom. Launch into a behind the back launch, moving crossover, canceled into an in and out, into a left stick snatch. That level of responsiveness is hopefully what 2K26 is aiming for. And in replaying 2K16 now, I'm kind of hoping that they do come back to that. Just take a look at how great this is. Boom, boom, moving crossover, canceled into that in and out, into that left stick crossover snatch. Fast, responsive, fluid, dynamic. Again, you play 2K16 now, it's an inferior game to 2K25. Let me be clear about that. But there are some systems where this game really shines, and I think this one is it. Yeah, that's honestly beautiful, and that's very Kyrie-like, even though these are probably some generic animations. Just the responsiveness of how you tie the triple threat, that special triple threat combo into the launch. Take a look at the footwork of that. Boom, boom. Look at the footwork. Pivot, launch, dynamic, moving crossover, in and out, cancel into that left stick snatch. That is a thing of beauty. So guys, let me tell you, there's a lot of claims that the post-up system in 2Ks of past, particularly 2K15 and 16, were better than what we have currently, and that's absolutely false. Here I am tapping my left stick. I'm not able to change my position and pivot. We don't get our swings. We get very flat shimmy animations, right? I mean, we still get the post lean, for example, but these are not very dynamic. And in many cases, 2K25 shares the same problem. Where I think 2K16 looks a little bit better is that, these post shimmies and these post exits, they look really good. Like, they look like they're moving with the purpose. But once you spin out, you can't counter like you do in previous 2Ks. Now you can use the left stick to initiate a post spin step back, for example, or even a post spin snatch. But you have to wait for the spin animation to play out, and it's not as responsive as it is in 2K25. Right there. So see, you are very limited in how dynamic you are in the post, where I think 2K26 can learn from 2K16 is maybe we can have these look a little bit better, right? These shimmies look better, but look at how much they're moving you. Right? So I think maybe 2K16 makes the shimmies and those shoulder fakes a little bit more dynamic like they are in 16. I think one area where, and this is similar to the triple threat, your up and unders feel more fluid in 2K16 actually. But for the most part, in 2K25, you can do the same combos. Right? You can do these in 2K25. It's just tied better, I think, in 2K2016. Just similar to how the triple threat system feels. So if you do this, bump, boom, the footwork feels a little bit more planted and solid, right? So if we do this, boom, not that. So if we do this, for example, bump, shimmy, I think it feels more aggressive, dynamic maybe, but I think 2K25's post-up system clears 2K16. So there's not much really that I want 2K to get from the post-up perspective, except maybe the better animations out of your up and unders and shimmies, right? So there you have it, a breakdown of the small teaser in terms of gameplay given to us through the NBA 2K26 courtside report and roadmap. There was actually a stream by Evan and Stacks that gave you more details. They give you a little bit hints of information as to what the dev team is trying to do. So maybe stay, give that a view, but also gameplay reveal is happening on the week of the 28th. I think maybe will happen towards August 1. So there you have it, a breakdown of what the changes in gameplay in 2K26 could be. Looking back 10 years prior to a system that in my opinion holds up. The specific system I'm talking about that holds up is the left stick integration, which I think 2K is trying to do beginning in 2K25, but I hope evolves in 2K26. So let me know what you think of the the overall themes for gameplay. Sounds good on paper. Can't wait to see how it's implemented. Can't wait to see how that gameplay breakdown gives us more information, especially about the post. I'm fiending for that post-game information. So hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. See you in the next one. Peace.